Today's Tuesday, November 14th, and we are going to do a practice work cited again. This is exactly the same as what we did yesterday, just using a different work cited. So, the first thing we have to do, who can tell me what's the first thing that we need to do in doing this? Andrew? Number our sources. So, raise your hand if you can tell me what's the first source up here. Noah? Okay, so you should be putting a number 1 on your paper next to that. And what's our second source here? Zebra Chicago. And we see that there are 2 zebras. How is this zebra going to be different from the other one when you recopy it, Jillian? What makes this zebra different from the one that you're going to do here? It's okay. Neil? It's a book, so how are you going to show it when you recopy it? So why don't we go ahead right now, use your pencil and underline it as a reminder to yourself that when it's time to recopy it, you have to underline it. So what's our third source? Marina? Zebra Science Online. And how are you going to copy that one later to show that it's different from the title of the book? What makes this one different when you write it? Owen? Very good. We're going to put quotation marks around it to show that it's an article title. It's a smaller work. It's not a big title of a book. It's a shorter article. And then what's our fourth source here, Jackson? Zebras on the Move. And when we recopy this one, Jackson, what do we have to remember to do? Okay, if it's shown in quotation marks here, we have to put quotation marks. All right, so that's the first step. Now you are going to be doing all of your writing on your paper at the bottom, but I'm going to type it all up here, and you should have the same information on your paper. So now we're going to go through and figure out what type of source is this Schleichert Elizabeth Stars and Stripes Ranger Rick March 2001 4-9 EBSCOhost. Do you remember what EBSCOhost is, Erica? Very good. It's a database that houses magazine articles. And what else do we know about this article from a magazine that's going to be important for us to note later on when it's time for us to do our parenthetical? Noah? Very good. We need to know the pages, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight that right now. And we'll kind of go back and review that again in a second. But there is something else that we need to know about this particular magazine article, besides the fact that it's on page 4 through 9. Mason? How many authors? There's one author. Very good. Okay, so we've got a magazine article, and again, a database is kind of like a storage place. We can't have every single Ranger Rick magazine ever published for every month of every year, so we don't need them. We can just go to this database and find it. All right, how about our second one? What type of a source is this Zebra Chicago Bantam 1999? Who have I not heard from? Austin. It's a book. And what do we note about this book that's important? Okay, we know it's printed and it's got a publication date and a publication city. What else do we need to know about this book for our parenthetical later, AJ? There is no author. There was something else that we have to remember to do with a book when we go to write later. What is that one thing, Mason? We have to underline it, you're right, and we already put that in there. There's something else, though. Andrew? We're going to put page numbers. So if you would like, I'm going to type them in there, but I want you to just make a number sign and just kind of put it in front of there as a reminder to you later. And I'm going to and go ahead and do that up at the top one too, because you're going to have to remember to put a page number for this database article too. All right, third source, Zebra Science Online Facts on File. What are we going to need to do for that one? What kind of source is it? What kind of source? Noah? It's not exactly a database. It is online though. Science Online is actually responsible for coming up with and researching and finding all of this information. What do you think, Andrew? It's more than a website. Science Online. Facts on File. What do you think, Brendan? More than a website. It's a reference source. It's kind of like a science encyclopedia, and this is a new one. We haven't really talked about this one yet. So it's an article from an online reference source. And do we know anything? What else do we need to note about this online reference source that's going to be important for when we go to write our parenthetical later? What should we note now? Same thing we're noting for all our other ones. Clara? There is no author for this. All right, and then our fourth source. What's our fourth source? Jackson? Very good. So we've got another magazine article. I can cheat. I can just clone. You guys can't. It's a database article from a magazine. And what do I need to change about this, though? Noah? Yeah, there's no author. All right, so we've got four sources. We know what each of those sources is. Oh, we need one more thing from this one. I forgot. Because it was at one time printed in a magazine, there's something else we need to make sure we do, Erica. We need a page number. And did anybody know? What is the page number for this article? Zebras on the Move. Maddie. Pages 4, oh, not 4 through 9. 4 through 9 was for this one up here, but we're on the last source, Zebras on the Move from National Geographic. Samantha? 12 through 14. Very good. All right. So what's the next step? Let's go back here. We numbered our sources. Now we've identified the type of source. So what's the third step that we have to go through? Step number 3. Very good. Now I'm going to use a highlighter, but you can circle if you want to. Or if you have a highlighter, then you can use your highlighter. So we're going to, oops. Where'd it go? There it is. All right. So for that first source, we've got an article from a magazine with one author. What are we going to use for parenthetical documentation? What do we need to circle or highlight? Andrew? Author's last name, Schleicher. And we got to make sure when we go and copy the spelling later, we copy it correctly because that's a different spelling. And we had already highlighted or circled the page numbers, but we got to make sure we use those. All right, next source. Jackson. What are we going to highlight? We got a book with no author. We don't have an author to use the author's last name, so what do you think we should use? Not the publisher. There's something a little closer we could use. Luke? We'll use the title of the book, which is Zebra. And we put a little reminder there when we go to recopy this. Luke, what are we going to remember to do? Put a page number. We're going to put one page number because if we actually had the book sitting in front of us, I would know that this fact came from this particular page. And because it's a book, we have to do one more thing. Because it's the title of a book, what else do we have to do? We had a reminder on there, Gina. You have to underline it. All right, source 3, article from an online reference source with no author. Marina, what do you think? Zebra. And when we write zebra, what do we have to remember to include? I don't think we have page numbers for this one. It's like online. The quotation marks, very good, the quotation marks. All right, and then our fourth source. What's that last source? Database article from a magazine with no author. What are we going to put in quotes for this one, Noah? Zebras on the Move. And when we write it, what do we have to include? Quotation marks. And we have another visual reminder there. The page numbers. And we have to use the page numbers that are actually given to us. All right. So the hard part's done. Now you just get to write. Now you're going to write a report to your teacher about zebras. And we're not going to worry about sentence description too much. All we're worried about is how do we actually do this to show Parenthetical documentation. So we're going to pretend that we're writing a report about zebras. Who can give me a fact about zebras? Joey? Zebras are animals. They are indeed animals, aren't they? So we're going to pretend that this fact came from source 1. So flip back over and look at your works cited page. What did we say that we were going to put in the parentheses? Marina? Before the page number? Author's last name, Schleichert, 4 through 9. So, make that a little bigger. Schlei. Tell me if I'm spelling it wrong. R-E-T? No, that's not right. Oh, it's C-H. Ah. Is that right? And what pages is it, Andrew? 4 through 9. Remember, we don't put PG for page. We won't put a number sign. We don't put a comma. The only thing that's going to represent is a number. What do I need to, what am I missing? Are you all raising your hand because I forgot to do something, Jackson? Period at the end. Always on the outside of the parenthesis. All right, Mason, you want to give me another sentence about zebras? They are black and white. I am learning so much about zebras right now. So, what am I going to put in parentheses? This comes from my second source. What do you think I should put in parentheses for this source? Shelby. The title of the book, which is Zebra. And how am I going to show that it's a book when I write it? Okay, so I'm going to underline zebra. And did I need anything else for zebra, Gina? Was this a book? So we're going to pretend, what page do you think we found this fact on? 23. When it's a book, we're not going to put a page range. We put the page range for articles and magazines, but for a book, we would assume that you have the book there and you've looked at it and you took notes on what page it was on. All right, you are going to continue doing this next 2 sources on your own. I can't wait to read your facts about zebras, and then I'm going to come around and check it. You're going to do a fact for source 3 and then a fact for source 4.